Listener discretion is advised. This production contains strong language, adult themes, and content that may not be suitable for all audiences.
The Bible rated R by Ron Hicks. When God chose to reveal the story of humanity, He did not hold back. He didn't sugarcoat the truth or hide behind a veil of gentleness. Instead, He laid bare the raw, unfiltered reality of life, its beauty, its darkness, its triumphs, and its failures. In these ancient stories, we see humanity in its truest form: flawed, passionate, sinful, and sometimes redemptive. This is not the sanitized version you've heard in Sunday school. The Bible rated R. Chapter 2. The Flood. Drowning of the Wicked. The air was thick with an ominous tension. The sky, a heavy blanket of swirling black clouds, growled with the fury of an angry god. Thunder boomed, shaking the ground, and in its wake came the first raindrop, a solitary warning. Below, the people continued to laugh and mock Noah, oblivious to the doom creeping closer. To them, he was a fool, a madman who had wasted years building a monstrous ark for an event that could never happen. The heavens split open. The rain poured down in relentless torrents, a deluge that hammered the earth. The water didn't just fall, it attacked. Within moments, the ground was a sea of mud, streets turned into rivers, and chaos reigned. The flood wasn't just coming. It was already here. People screamed. A mother clutched her child, the water surging around her legs as she waded through the rising flood. Her child's cries were drowned by the roar of the storm as the water rose past their knees, then their waists. Desperate hands clutched at anything they could find: trees, rocks, rooftops, but the current was too strong, dragging them into the swirling depths. Bodies were swept away like leaves, their limbs flailing as the water claimed them. A man struggled against the flood, his muscles straining as he tried to hold on to a piece of debris. His fingers, white with strain, slipped from their grip, and the water consumed him. His body thrashed violently as the current pulled him under. His mouth filled with water, his lungs burning as he fought to surface. But the flood was merciless, its cold fingers dragging him deeper into the abyss. His limbs convulsed, then stilled, as his body sank, lost forever beneath the waves. The rain hammered down harder. The rivers, swollen beyond their banks, overflowed with terrifying speed. Houses crumbled as the force of the water tore through them, their walls splintering like matchsticks. Families clung to each other, their faces twisted in terror as they watched the floodwaters rise. The stench of death filled the air. Bloated bodies floated on the surface, their faces contorted in their final moments of fear and agony. Eyes once full of life now stared blankly at the sky, as if pleading for mercy that would never come. Limbs, pale and twisted, bobbed like broken puppets, their joints contorted in unnatural positions as the water tossed them about. Men, women, and children alike were swept away by the ferocious currents. Some clung to rocks or trees, their hands bloody and raw from trying to hold on. But the water always won. One by one, they slipped, their screams silenced as the flood engulfed them. Even the strongest swimmers couldn't outpace the surging waves. In the distance, a man struggled to keep his wife's head above water. Her face was pale, her lips blue as she gasped for air. He screamed her name as the water dragged her down, her fingers clawing desperately at his arms. Her grip weakened, her nails tearing into his flesh before she was torn from him. Her body spun helplessly, her mouth agape in a silent scream as she was swallowed by the water. He stood frozen, paralyzed by grief as the water climbed higher, enveloping him in its icy grasp. Inside the ark, Noah's heart ached as he listened to the sounds outside. He could hear the desperate banging of fists on the wooden walls, the voices pleading for help. But there was nothing he could do. The door had been shut, and God's judgment had begun. The flood was not just rain, it was a cleansing, a violent purge of the earth's wickedness. Hours turned into days, and still the rain didn't stop. The entire world was submerged beneath an ocean of death. The highest mountains vanished beneath the waters, their peaks lost in the endless horizon. Where once there had been cities teeming with life, there was now only a vast, desolate sea. The wicked were gone, their bodies crushed by the weight of the flood. The water was thick with debris, broken homes, shattered trees, and the bodies of those who had once mocked Noah. They floated aimlessly, twisted and lifeless. Faces that had once been filled with arrogance and pride were now frozen in expressions of terror, their final moments etched into their features for eternity. Their eyes stared blankly into the sky, clouded and vacant. Inside the ark, silence fell. Noah and his family sat in the dim light, their hearts heavy with the knowledge that everything outside was gone. The wicked had been drowned, and the earth was clean again, washed in the blood of the guilty. Part 2. After the flood, a world drowned in death. As the rain finally stopped and the waters began to recede, Noah and his family, trapped in the ark for nearly a year, had to confront the horrifying reality outside. Inside the ark, the air was thick with the stench of animals, filth and rot clinging to every corner. The noise of the animals had faded into a dull murmur as even they succumbed to the exhaustion of endless days spent in the claustrophobic darkness. When the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat, they knew the flood had finally ended. But the world outside was no longer the one they knew. It took months for the waters to fully drain, and with every passing day, Noah's family grew more anxious. The sound of rushing water was replaced by an eerie, unsettling silence. The land was still submerged in places, and when they sent birds out to search for dry ground, their hopes were crushed time and time again as the birds returned with nothing. Finally, the day came when the dove returned with an olive branch, signaling the presence of dry land. But stepping outside the ark was not a moment of triumph. It was one of horror. The world was devastated. The earth was a wasteland, caked in layers of mud and debris. The air was thick with the foul odor of decay. Rotting corpses of men and beasts alike, bloated and twisted in grotesque forms, littered the ground and floated in the shallow pools that remained. The landscape was desolate. Everything that once stood had been torn apart by the flood's fury. Trees were uprooted, homes had been swept away, and the bodies of the dead were scattered like leaves in the wind. Human remains, children's small bodies entangled with adults, animals mixed with human bones, created a grotesque mosaic of death. The once thriving earth had become a graveyard. The mud squelched beneath their feet as they moved further from the ark. Their steps were slow, weighed down by the crushing realization that everything and everyone outside the ark had perished. Noah's family couldn't escape the sight of the dead. Broken bodies, some caught in the branches of uprooted trees, others buried half in mud, stretched as far as the eye could see. The water had been their executioner, and now it left their remains strewn across the earth. The smell was unbearable. Rotting flesh filled the air, choking their lungs with every breath. The carcasses of animals, once proud and strong, lay in heaps, their bodies decaying under the scorching sun. The bloated corpses of people, their faces distorted and unrecognizable, floated in stagnant pools, left behind by the receding waters. Noah's family could not escape this reality. Every direction they turned, death followed. The earth, once teeming with life, was now a silent, decaying wasteland. The only sounds were the creaking of the ark behind them and the squelch of their footsteps in the mud. Birds scavenged among the dead, pecking at the remains of what the flood had left behind. As survivors, Noah and his family carried an unbearable burden. They were alive, chosen by God, but they had witnessed the destruction of an entire world. Every step they took was a reminder of the judgment that had come to pass, a punishment so severe that it left nothing but ruin in its wake. They were the sole survivors of a planet purged of life, walking through the wreckage of humanity's sins. The silence of the land was deafening. No laughter, no cries, no sound of animals. The world was dead, its soil stained with the blood of the billions who perished. Noah's family stood alone, surrounded by the eerie stillness of the aftermath. They were alive, but the cost of their survival was the haunting memory of what had been lost. As Noah built an altar and offered sacrifices to God, the smoke rose into the air, mingling with the lingering scent of death. The world had been washed clean, but the scars of destruction would remain etched in the earth forever. Noah and his family had survived the flood, but they would live with the haunting memory of the devastation it had caused for the rest of their days.
Support the production of the Bible rated R and help feed families in need. Exciting news is on the horizon with the upcoming project, the Bible rated R, designed to spark meaningful conversations and explore themes that resonate deeply with today's audience. However, to bring this vision to life, support is needed. Donations are being sought to help cover production costs, with every contribution playing a vital role in creating high-quality content that inspires and engages. What makes this initiative even more special is that a portion of every donation will go toward feeding hungry families in need, creating a mission that aims to make a positive impact on multiple fronts. Supporters can contribute through our Patreon account or buy me a coffee. No donation is too small, and each one makes a significant difference. As a gesture of appreciation, contributors will receive access to exclusive content and updates, allowing them to be part of this meaningful journey. This is a heartfelt call to action, inviting everyone to join in making a difference. Together, we can create something impactful, combining the art of storytelling with the urgent need to provide nourishment and hope to those in need. Let's come together to support this vital cause.